street harassment work last spring when Holly came to speak to our group, the Grad Femmes, about what she was doing as a graduate of our master's program. And that was really the first time that I learned about what street harassment was and really gave it a name. And shortly after she spoke to us, I had a really bad experience that I blogged about for the Stop Street Harassment blog. And I think that those two experiences so close together, hearing Holly and then my experience, heightened my interest in researching it. And so as I began to research, I noticed that men weren't really mentioned a lot, at least as victims, and when they were, gay or otherwise, it was either like in a footnote or in a sentence or two saying like, men are really beyond the scope of this project, but further research would be great and would definitely add to street harassment discourse. So as I was thinking about what I might want to write my thesis about, or if I even want to write a thesis, it seemed convenient to me to kind of take that and run with it. And so with a lot of support from Holly, a lot of help from her, I decided to do that for my thesis. And just last Thursday afternoon I got my IRB approval, and so I've started collecting data, and I've been really lucky so far in the number of responses I've gotten online. My methods are completely online. It's surveying and then the option to do a follow-up interview. And so I thought that I would share like a little bit about what I'm getting back from people. So far I've gotten approximately, last time I checked I had 258 responses since last Thursday, so it's been really great so far. Around 90% are homosexual and 10% are bisexual. 40% of the respondents are 18 to 20 years old, with an additional 34% between 21 and 24, so about 3/4 are 24 years old and younger, and then overall about 85% are 29 or younger, so it's a pretty young sample. And then of those who reported their races and or nationality, so far about 83% are white, 14% Latino or Hispanic, 5% Asian American, and 4% Black or African American, which isn't quite as diverse as we'd like to see, but it'll get there, I'm sure. And I haven't quantified exactly how many states or countries are represented in my sample so far, but as I read through them, it's extremely diverse and extremely international, and I sometimes think that there are even more international responses than from the United States, so it's extremely diverse with that, to that respect. And then how my survey works is that it's completely anonymous online, and then on the last page, each respondent has the option to contact an email that I created to say that they want to participate in the follow-up interview. So their options are, yes, I want to participate, no, I don't want to participate, or I might want to, and I will email you if I do want to in the future. So far about 30% said yes, 30% said no, and then 40% said maybe. So right now I'm engaged in 45 follow-up interviews, but I think like 70 have said yes already, so, and then another like 100 said maybe, so I expect that number to grow a lot. So some other things that I'm finding are participant definitions of street harassment range from the very simplistic quote harassment that occurs in public places by strangers to more specific definitions like quote being called out mostly in regards to sexuality in public by people you don't know. Typically these people only call names and are generally college-age males. Someone else said, quote, derogatory remarks made towards me and my sexuality while going about my everyday business in public. So a lot of people are including sexuality particularly in how they understand street harassment. More than 90% of my respondents said that they at least sometimes are harassed or feel unwelcome in public because of their sexual orientation, and about a quarter said they often or always feel unwelcome in public because of their sexual orientation, and 2/3 said they feel unwelcome because of their physical appearance, which might just be their height or weight. Nearly 40% said this harassment started by the time they were 15, and another 40% said it started between ages 16 and 19. So about 80% started when they were teenagers, which I think makes sense given how young my sample is. that they would report that. Street harassment for my respondents so far appears to happen overwhelmingly when they're alone, and usually with straight men. And in response to street harassment, more than 2/3 said they constantly assess their surroundings, avoid specific neighborhoods or areas, and avoid making eye contact. And nearly 60% said they cross streets or take alternate routes because of fear of interaction with strangers. And a small number, but still significant, said that they have moved to another neighborhood or changed jobs because of the street harassment they faced. So those are some of the things that I found so far. I have nothing groundbreaking to share right now since I haven't been able to sift through all my responses, but that's from my survey. And then I wanted to share a few things that people reported during the follow-up interviews. So like I said, I have 45 people so far who have emailed me. And at least from those I've heard back from so far who have actually answered my initial set of questions, the stories they're sharing really do highlight how large of an issue this is for gay and bisexual men. A 21-year-old gay male who identified as Japanese and Mexican said that from 2008-2010 I worked at a bowling alley. I started out as a snack bar employee and then was promoted to manager. The owners had absolutely no problem with my sexual orientation. They practically celebrated it. However, the customers took serious issue with my sexuality. More times than not, it was the open bowlers than the league bowlers. Whenever something went wrong and the customer wasn't happy, they tried to use the gay card on me. During my 2 years there, I was called a number of names, including fag, abomination, ankle grabber, bitch, queer, etc. This poor work environment ultimately became the reason I resigned. Another respondent said, in college, walking with some friends that were in a sorority, I was the only male. I had someone drive by and yell fag. That made me feel embarrassed, sad, and angry. And another person said, once several years ago, I had gone and seen a movie with friends, and we went out to eat afterward. Eventually, everyone left except me as I was waiting to be picked up. Then there was a group of guys, probably around 18 or 19 at the time, I was 15, who kept looking over and pointing at me, and soon they got up and started walking over my direction. Then my dad pulled up and I left, but I felt that I could have been in trouble if my dad hadn't been there right then. That's the most unsafe I've ever felt. Thankfully, no physical harm has been done to me. So it's kind of heartbreaking reading the stories that I'm getting, but I think it's also important kind of collect them and shed light on the issue.